Would you like some shitty players to podcast about a game they're not good at?
What's up, DigiDestin? Thank you for listening to the Security Check Digimon TCG podcast. Make sure to join the Cataclysmic Cardboard Discord server via the link in the description. And now, let's jump into the digital world.
On this episode of the podcast, we have CK from the Valley Boys TCG YouTube channel. Notably, I guess we could claim this is the Jank Master. He took Beelzemon before the structure deck came out to 46th place in an Ultimate Cup, and then took Amphimon to 99th place at the Top Cut Regional in November.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. How's it going, guys? Yeah, I do love my Jank. I definitely love my Jank. I would say Rogue is what I try to approach thing at. I try to approach it as a Rogue play, but it is definitely Amphimon was definitely a Jank play. Let's be honest, that was not a Rogue. I would say Beelzemon was kind of Rogue. It was, I think, BT9, so it's at the height of all the Melga stuff. Just tons of Metal Guru, and I took advantage of like the weird, some of the removal stuff. I guess that Beelzemon had access to is really what saved me for that. But yeah, that was it was a fun run. Have not used Beelzemon competitively since the starter deck came out because I guess I'm on the mindset of like, oh, is the deck good now? I'm not playing that anymore.
We were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah,
as soon as the deck that we enjoy becomes really, really good, we're like, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I hate to say it about I have almost like I guess the hipster mindset where I'm like, too many people are playing that. I don't want to do that. I want to be different.
Exactly. I want to go into a tournament and win, and then people say, "Oh, that dude, like the Bagra Army guy, like, oh, that dude took Bagra Army to a top 64."
Yes, man. It's top props to him. That was awesome. Saw that seen Bagra Army up there. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Where's my Bagra box? I know I have it here. I haven't touched that in so long." It revitalizes something in you to play something that's different, unexpected, because it makes you think different than everybody else, and it makes everybody else. And I think that's the big part about playing Rogue is that it doesn't just change the way you play, but it changes the way your opponents play, and then it kind of like has this chain effect where everybody now has to enhance their game level, enhance their thinking, think outside the box, think of other decks, because everybody can prep for meta. I prep for meta. I played in Ultimate Cup this past Sunday. Was that two days ago? Yeah. 2 days ago from now. And I decided, again, this is me not wanting to play into meta. I have a local buddy who was like, "Hey, I want you to do well because I can't play in this, and I want to buy all your prizing off of you." Was really his thing. He's like, "I want you to do well because I want you to win me cards that I can buy off of you," and which is totally fine with me. I don't really, I kind of let my prize cards go to the homies here around, and he was really pushing me to play something good. And I had been playing Anubismon for a while. I had the Anubismon just because the cardboard gods went against me. And I ended up pulling too many Anubismons. And so I just ended up with the deck. So I was like, fine, I'm going to learn it, play it. And I was like, this deck is so stupid. Like, it is so fast, and it just throws things out. And it's so dumb, easy sometimes with it that I couldn't enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed it for a little bit, just learning. But once I got the hang of it, I'm like, nah, let's try something else. So I will say I took Amphimon to Ultimate Cup. That's what I ran. And it was kind of, I guess it was kind of an anti-meta call because like I'm like, okay, they're gonna be decking me out with all these Pokemon decks because that's what was expected. Pokemon all over the place, and that's what I prepped for. I was like, okay, it's gonna be purple. They're gonna be trashing. I'm gonna take advantage of that with Jellymon, all the effects that hey, return it from the trash to the bottom of the deck. So I won't deck out. If anything, a Pokemon is just gonna kind of turbo up my trash for me to be able to use my restand or protection effects over and over again. When it came to Ultimate Cup, I saw 0 Apoclymon decks.
That's how it goes, man. Every time you
Yeah.
go prep to play against something, you're like, oh, I'm going to see this everywhere.
Yep.
And don't see it once.
And you know what? Ultimate Cup was a lot of fun with Amphimon. It was a very good run until the very end. And that's which was I was hoping because I knew I was gonna talk with you all tonight. And so going into Sunday, I'm like, man, I hope I do well because that would be a great way to go into the Jank talk. Being able to sneak Amphimon into like top 64 with the Jellymon deck. I was there until the very last minute. I was at 5-3 going into the last match. And that's where I lost it. That was my worst loss of the night. And honestly, it was the worst game for me all around. The whole tournament was good. I played a lot of fun decks. Played against, Rookie Rush, Numemon, which was what I almost took also, Red Hybrid, different things. I played one purple deck. I played one Anubis player. And that one was actually an easy win for me just because I was so used to the deck. But that was the only purple deck I ran into, which is so weird. Wargreymon, another red hybrid. And then it was till the very end, I was like, okay, I got this. And everybody was really great. Everybody was really great. And I'm sure you guys have been in that situation where, like, you're playing in a big tournament and you run into those players that just bring you down. Like, they're just salty and it just takes the wind out of your sails. You no longer want to play. It just ruins the game for you. So I didn't have any of that. Everybody was super cool, super chill going to the very end. Like, everybody was friendly. Everybody was nice. The round 8 played the guy, and he was I believe he was a red hybrid player. Super bubbly dude. I wish I could remember his name. He was so awesome. Like, as soon as I flipped the egg, I went into. It wasn't a jelly. It was like one of my non-jelly cards. I think it was like a Siakomon or something. One of my techs in the deck. And then he's like, okay. And then I was like, because he went first. He played his tamer. I'm like, okay, red hybrid. Obviously, you see Takuya, you know what to expect. And so I flipped a blue egg. He's like, okay. And I put that. He's like, And I'm like, okay, are you ready? Are you ready for the reveal of what I'm still playing at this point in the tournament? And I dropped the Jellymon. And he's like, dude, win, lose, or tie, I F with you. Like, I respect the play. And I'm like, thank you, man. And, he was super fun, bro. And after the round, I won that one. And then I told him straight up, but like, look, man, it's been a good tournament for me all day. Everybody was super chill, super nice, great. I really hope the pair down loses because you were the perfect last person to play for this tournament because you were super cool, you were super nice, and that's what matters in the game is, being friendly. It's a game at the end of the game. It's a trading card game. So you're supposed to have fun. And so he was super fun. I loved it. And pair down did not lose. So we had one more round. And that's where my tournament took a hard turn. Because I went into it and I was like, okay, what table am I at? I was like, table 58. Okay, great. That means if you double that means I'm in the top 128 right now. So sweet. I already top 128. If I win, I potentially get into top 64. And so I'm coming in still with the energy from the last table. I'm like, hey, man, how's it doing? How you going? And just, hey. And I'm like, oh, no.
No.
I know. I heard that, hey, and I'm like, oh, no, this is not good. Just immediately, you hear the tone and you're like, this is not going to be fun. Am I playing a SecCon player? Is that what this is? I felt it, and it was a Deva player.
Oh.
Who's playing Devas, and it was interesting, but I really had no practice with Devas. I don't think I've played against the Devas deck at all. And so I told him, like, okay, man, you're going to have to walk me through some of these because I really don't know what your stuff does. And he's like, I'm like, okay, cool. And he did not clarify effects unless I asked for things. I don't know if it was a competitive thing. I don't know if it was a drain. And it's round 9. We're like 10 hours in. I'm already getting tired. And so I didn't think to do a lot of things. So I made a lot of mistakes of not realizing all the effects. I mean, the names of the cards, the Digimon themselves, are confusing enough. Um, but there's so many different effects in that deck because you're playing tons of different one or two ofs in that deck. So I didn't realize, okay, this has blocker, this has this effect, this has that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to try to go in early. And so I'm like, okay, I want to swing. And he didn't say anything. I'm like, okay, well, then I'm going to trigger these effects. And then after the effect, he's like, okay, well, I have blocker. And I'm like, okay, I would have appreciated a heads up before I went all in on this, just because that's usually how I'm used to. But I mean, I can't fully fault him because this is a competitive set at this point, right? Like we're in a competitive event. I should expect players are going to be playing competitively and aggressively, and I should just go to expect that. But as I went through the rounds, I would be okay, do this, that, and midway through game one, I'm like, okay, just want you to know, as I'm like, hey, this is I was like, okay, your go at whatever memory, and I'm like, oh, just this rebooted from this effect. This Amphimon still has blocker. Just this still has blocker, and this is that. He's like, okay, cool. And so like I'm always very clear with my effects because I know that I play decks that not a lot of people know about. And he even said, he's like, oh, I don't know what the Amphimon deck does. I'm like, it's cool, man. I got you. And I was like, to be honest, I don't know what your deck does, honestly. So, and I thought that was our mutual, our gentleman's agreement that we would be, I told him flat out, I'll let you know. I kept reminding him, hey, this still has blocker. No, this doesn't have blocker anymore. No, this doesn't have a restand effect or whatever. Unless I specifically said, what does this one do? What is the inherited of that one? Or he would wait till I do things. And like, I did this last ditch effort game 2, and I should have seen it coming because he even like midway through or like close to the end of game 2, he's like, hold on, let me see. He's like, oh, see, we still got 15 minutes. And then I felt like when he looked at the time, he slowed down a little bit because at that point I was kind of gaining pace back. And I'm like, oh, don't tell me he's going to try to time me out here. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to push it a little. And then at the very end, I kind of got desperate because that Fanglong, man, that Fanglong isn't affected by your Digimon's effects. And going into this tournament, I switched my deck. I switched my Amphimon build. I took out the option cards that do things because I said, oh, my Digimon does this. And these options. Let's put more jellies. Let's put more Digimon in this. And that was my big mistake. So I couldn't strip and bounce or strip and stun with my jelly line. I needed Soul Rise. And I took out my Soul Rise before the tournament. And like 3 games that day, I kept running into things. I'm like, if this was still Soul Rise, this would be a different turnout. Like, game 1, I went against round 1 was the Rookie Rush. And I had I think it was Were-Garurumon Ace, because Were-Garurumon Ace actually kind of works with the deck because you draw in trash, and that trash to help fill the trash with jelly, and you're stunning with Were-Garuru Ace without having to strip all the sources. You just prevent one from suspending. So I was like, okay, this actually works really well with the Jellymon. And then I'm like, oh, he's got like 4 Mons with no sources on board. Sorai would have been really nice right now, and had I not changed the deck, this Were-Garurumon would have been Sorai in my hand. And so yeah, there was a lot of moments where I'm like, I really wish Sora was here. And Sora was sitting there on the corner of on the shelf right next to me because I had just flipped the deck 2 days before. I just rebuilt it a few days before. And so mid-tournament, I'd look over and it was just staring at me like, you idiot. So yeah, it was rough. And then like that last one, who's timing, I was like, okay, I'm going to go in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to swing in. And he's like, can it restand? I was like, no, it doesn't have the inherited to restand. He's like, does it have a way to restand? I'm like, well, right now it doesn't. But do you have a way to make it restand? I'm like, there are currently ways to restand in my deck. I'm not going to tell you what I have in my hand. Like he kept pressuring me to try to reveal what my play was and like try to see what was in my hand. I'm like, all I could tell you is, yes, I have ways to restand in my deck. There's Blitz Omni would be one way to do it. And he's like, okay then. And then he's like, okay. He just said, okay. I'm like, all right, fine. And let me trigger this, this, and this. After I trigger, he's like, oh well, he's like, I would have corrected you, but you already did your things. But this has blocker, and I'm like, I didn't because he did. I guess the one that tucks a Deva from trash under his Fanglong, and he just said the name of the Digimon, and I'm like, I do not know the name of all those Devas. They all have crazy ass names, so I didn't know which one he had tucked the turn before, and that's again that's still on me. You competitive. I should have asked. You should always ask, but I was so going off the high of like, hey, everybody was super cool this tournament. Everybody's super nice. Everybody's super friendly. Nobody's gonna be, real sharking or hyper competitive. And I was wrong at the very end. But so I lost that final round to that Deva player, which I was like, yeah, man, you took it. You're probably top 64 now. He's like, oh, really? That'd be pretty cool, I guess. And I was like, come on, man. And he ended up at 45. I got knocked all the way back to 152.
Gee.
And that sucks so much because I was like, I did not even get next tier prizes. I did not get 128. Even though I was in the 50s tables, it just threw me all the way back. And that sucked even more because I was like, the very final round of the tournament, I went through the whole thing. And then at the very end, I get the player that was not as friendly as everybody else, ruined the experience, lost the final round, which threw me into a 5-4, which I was almost 6-3 with Amphimon. I was so hyped for that. I was like, oh, we got another Jank to top 64. So close way out of the 128 was like, I was so bummed at the end when it final came down. But you know what? It was a good run. I enjoyed it. I learned some things. And as it goes, you prep for something and you see none of it because that's just how the tournaments go.
I'm still shocked you did so well with Amphimon. But everything you said, like, speaks true. Like, I've played in several online regionals and ultimate cups, and same experience. Actually, most of the time I didn't have any Debbie Downer. But yeah, when you've been sitting at your computer for 10 hours,
Yeah.
it takes its toll.
Oh yeah. Definitely. It's definitely a very long day.
But I think most of our squad thinks like you. Like, I'm not a rule shark by any means. As long as you act like you're knowing what you're doing, and I'm acting like it, but I do those. I throw out friendly like, now remember this guy's got blocker.
Right.
Like, but my tone changes a lot depending on my opponent. Like, I flip a
Yeah.
switch. If I would have read that guy, I would have I would have played poker face with him too. I'd have been like, no, just your turn, go.
Yeah.
I get really cutthroat like that when the person gives me that same energy.
That's kind of what I did at the very end when he's like, "Can you restand? Does it restand?" And he kept poking about the restand. I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you what's in my freaking hand, dude. If that's what you're trying to do." I'm like, "Yes, there's ways to restand in my deck. That's all I can tell you. Like, obviously there's ways to restand in the deck. You saw a Blitz Omni, so that gives it away. There's ways to restand. My other way to restand to do that turn, had he not had blocker, was I was swinging in with a what was it? I think it was Amphi Ace. I was swinging in with Amphi Ace, and that's what really killed me. The problem with my build was that Amphi Ace on top of Where Guru Ace means, oh, you block me, there goes 7 memory. So it was a last ditch effort, really. I was like, I have nothing else here. I just have to swing for the fences. I was going to Amphi Ace. He left me at 6 memory, so I was like, I can swing Amphi Ace here. I can hard play the Thetismon from LM, and that will unsuspend a Digimon and a Tamer. If I trash 2 from hand, it lets me unsuspend a Digimon and a Kiyoshiro. So I had the 6 memory, play that for 7, unsuspend that Amphimon to swing for game, and unsuspend the 3-cost Kiyoshiro to gain 1 memory from it unsuspending, keeping me turn and letting me swing for game. I was like, okay, this either I win it here, and we go to game 3, or or I die to security. And instead, he's like, okay, I would have and the fact that he's like, oh, I would have said something, but you already drew for the effect. And I'm like, you could have said before I drew. Like, I'm not I'm not speeding here. I'm playing at a normal pace. He had a window to stop me, but he didn't. And so I was like, well, that's how it's gonna end. That's just how it is. But it's all good. In the end, we had a fun run. We did what we wanted to do, and we took another janky deck and did pretty well with it. All things considered, had it ended the round before, which I was hoping for, 5-3 would not have looked so bad. I would have been happy with the 5-3. Would have been a good look for it. 5-4 just doesn't ring the same way.
I agree. That's most of my runs though. It's 4-4, 4-4, 5-3. Like 5-3 to me is a great day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as long as they don't lose more than 3, and then once I hit that fourth,
Yeah.
and it's just yeah. But all in all, it wasn't a horrible night. We still had some fun with it. Um, Obviously, we were one win away from a little fairy tale ending for the deck, but I had a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of things. Um, Felt it actually, oddly enough, even though I wasn't building it for that, I was building it for the purple meta, and it actually did really well into the red hybrid meta. Oddly enough, like red hybrid seemed to be one of the better matchups that it had, which was one thing I wasn't really thinking about going into it, but it made sense because there's ways to bounce tamers in the deck as well. And then
Yeah.
obviously the stacks aren't getting that big, so you just so Amphi can still do things. I would just say Amphi can still do some things. It's a lot of fun. I may retool it to run it again sometime, but for now it's moving on to the next jank build.
Yeah, I'm working on Rust Tyranno. I'm gonna take it to North Carolina for the regional.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. Rust Tyranno is a lot of fun.
I saw
I
you had
think
a couple videos. I'll have to send you my list over and get you to review it too.
yeah, hell yeah, man. Send him out. I'm totally down to toy with the build, or toss some ideas around. Um, you know, I feel so robbed of the fact that I bought all my Rush Tyranno aces as quick as I could, and then they decided to put that as one of the prizing support in the tournament pack. It's getting it's reprinted in, was it this event pack
Yeah.
6, or what is it, something like that?
I forget which I seen that post, but yeah, it's getting a cool whole green aesthetic
Yeah,
to it and everything. So it'll be even more.
yeah.
Well, it may not. It may not, because I felt the same. Now, if it's a top 4 or a finalist or whatever it may be, but if it's just in the tournament packs, most of that stuff stays pretty feasible. You can bling
Yeah,
out your deck.
yeah. But that's just it. It's like, oh, now I got to get a whole new play set because I just had this play set, and now there's a prettier one, and now I got to look for that one, and then but Tyrannomon is a lot of fun. Catches a lot of people off guard. I think is it the BT14 Tyrannomon that lets you attack? I think that one is such a underappreciated card.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff. And I mean,
I do.
Tyrannomon's the original. He is the original Digimon mascot before Greymon came about.
He's the real OG, and that's
Yeah,
all there is to it.
and a lot of people don't realize this. He is the true evolution for Agumon. And if you look at his head, it is the exact same shape as Agumon. He is an Agumon. The only reason they have Greymon is because they wanted something different. But if you look at Tyrannomon, he is a better representation of Agumon than Greymon is, if you really look at him. So I like him as the true evolution for Agumon. But then again, Agumon, I guess, has so many forms because we have Greymon, Geo Greymon. Just, Digimon does Digimon things. They have so many different forms.
So we were talking a little bit before we started recording, and you, just like us, all kinds of TCGs everywhere. What TCG did you start with? Like, what was your very first TCG?
So officially, honest, growing up, I had some Pokemon cards, and I even played like the the Game Boy Pokemon card game for a little bit to learn how to play the game, but I never got to actually fully play it because a lot of my friends, and I mean, we were younger, but a lot of them were just like, they're collecting the cards, but they didn't really learn how to play the game. I think I had one other friend that was nerdy enough to kind of figure out the game too, and then my younger brother was always, doing the same thing I did. So me and him were always kind of in the same hobbies. We're only about 2.5 years apart, so um, he kind of picked it up a little bit too. So I would say Pokemon kind of growing up, and then I picked up Yu-Gi-Oh cards when Yu-Gi-Oh first dropped, and I kind of learned how to play it. But again, there was never really any. I was too young to really play anything competitively, and I didn't know about going to card shops or anything like that. So it really wasn't until Digimon, my younger brother, who me and him live in different states now, and he reached out and he's like, "Hey, there's this Digimon card game," and I was like, "Oh, I remember those when we were growing up. The original one that nobody knows how to play because it was just horribly done or something." It's just I even have some of those cards here laying around, but the original Digimon card game. Um, I was like, "Is it anything like?" He's like, "No, it's nothing like that. You can actually play the game." He's like, "It's pretty cool. You should look into it, but it's really hard to find. So if you need help finding anything, let me know because I can find some stuff locally." So I looked into it. It was interesting. He sent me the Kakaitis Blue starter deck, the first one. I was like, I think I want the blue. He sent me the blue one that he found up there because I didn't know where to find it here. He was able to find me a 1.5 box. It wasn't when 1.5 was around. It was just before Set 4 dropped, where I was learning the card game, and then I found a local shop. And honestly, the locals community down here in South Texas, really, really great guys. A lot of them I've had on my own channel, the Valley Boys podcast that we've done, the Board State podcast that we haven't done an episode in a long time. So honestly, it's really refreshing being here with you guys. It's been a while since I've had a good chat like this, so appreciate you all having me on tonight. But I remember reaching out and I was like, "Hey, does anybody have stuff? I have like these old Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff that if anybody wants to trade for some stuff or." And so one of the guys on there, Waylon, was who's the one who was starting the Valley Boys channel with. It was me and him as the first ones. But he reached out. He's like, "Hey, yeah, I got some stuff. Just let me know what you're looking for." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm just kind of expanding my blue deck and the blue. It was blue source strip that I kind of started with, and I was like, oh, look at this. What's it, BT3 or something like that? Or it was the Vikemon that gets plus security if your opponent has Digimon with no sources." And I was all about the source strip early on, so there was Vikemon, and I was waiting for the new regular Cuse to drop or something like that, or vice versa. I remember that specifically, but I remember he brought a bunch of bulk. I'm like, oh, this is awesome, because I hadn't, cards were super scarce early on, even before Set 4 dropped, before Great Legends. And he's like, well, "What do you need?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just looking for this." And I'm like, "Oh, what do you want for these?" He's like, "No. Fine, just take what you need. Take what you need. Just come back and play." I fully appreciate Waylon for just bringing me into the community as somebody who really wasn't a TCG player. Like, I didn't really play any other card games up to that point. I just always was interested. This was the first one that I really dove into and played. And since then, I've just been fully Digimon was my main card game that really got me started on everything. And after a while of playing, me and him got along really well, and that's when he kept pushing me, "Hey, we should start a channel." And so, me coming from a video background, because I worked at a local TV station down here as a video editor and technical director, but I had worked in TV and done video editing kind of semi-professionally or professionally, I guess, for 10-ish years. So I started pretty early to get into video editing, so it was something that came second nature. So he's like, "Hey, you should be doing videos. Let's do videos." And so that's kind of what started the channel for Valley Boys TCG, and then kind of ran with it. Waylon since has gone back to Magic the Gathering, which was his starting point. But now because he was a Mastamon player and seeing all the new Master support, he's super tempted to come back to Digimon, and I keep telling him, hey, dude, you got to come back. Just come back, man. We all waiting for you to come back.
He
Oh
needs to.
yeah.
Mastermon's good right now.
Oh
You
yeah.
see
Oh
you
yeah.
see that Digimon that you just all about, and you're like, oh, I'm coming back. I'm
Yeah,
just dragging you
exactly.
back in.
Heck yeah. Yeah. I am waiting for uh Hexablow support. That was that I loved Hexablow when he came out. I I my I commissioned a custom piece with like me and Hexablow, and that was my main mat for a long time. Um, and I still have that mat. I actually have 2 copies of that mat, weirdly enough. But Hexablow was my dude. I love, like I said, I love the source strip and the stun. But oddly enough, and this goes back to kind of how we talked about, oh, the deck's good now. I'm not playing it. I never played blue hybrid. That is peak source strip and stun. I did not play blue hybrid. Oddly enough.
Yeah, that was definitely a peak.
Yeah. So, and that goes back to, we love the jank, we love the challenge, I think is what it is. And it's just, you have a deck it's not very consistent, but when it pops off, oh my god, does that feel good. I think that's kind of what that's why I love running jank. It's just the of, can I get this ridiculous combo to work?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I
where
think
I'm
there's
at.
more reward. Andrew is notorious to run jank.
Mikey's to a point that he just doesn't like playtesting against me anymore.
No.
Yeah, I I've been tempted to bring back Mamamon again. Like I have, it's still sitting there. I got my Mamamon because I was like, this was the jankiest deck I've taken and done so well. Got that when after I got top 100, I was like, okay, I'm treating Mamamon. It treated me well. I'm treating it to its custom. So I got the Sally Blue to make me the Mamamon mat and deck box. So I have my Mamamon deck is always in that deck box. I keep my mat. I still use that mat a lot of the times over my other mats, just because even though I'm not playing Mamamon, I love the artwork by Sally Blue. Amazing job. Totally recommend them as another artist if any of you are looking. Aside from work from like Wholehearted, also has some great stuff. A couple of the guys from Valley Boys have some Wholehearted mats as well. There's a lot of really good artists out there.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people. There's the memory marker people that make those. There's so many
Yeah.
creatives that jumped into Digimon too that are just taking off, and I love it.
Oh yeah. Like the memory markers. I remember Glasses Brigade was doing some of
Yes.
them. I have a few of her dice. I got to meet her at a con down here in South Texas. She was down here for a con, and I saw that she was gonna be here. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go. Like I gotta go and see the booth. And I picked up a few dices, and I told my brother because, like I said, I'm in deep South Texas. Like the Dallas Regionals is still like an 8-hour drive for me to get to. So I am at the deepest point in South Texas. And my brother's in New Mexico, and I told him, I was like, oh hey, Glasses Brigade's gonna be here. He's like, oh, I want this, and this. And so I went and bought him a few different dice and markers and stuff like that to ship back to him. But it was cool getting to meet her and pick up some stuff. Um, but yeah, like you said, there's so many good creative people out there for this game.
I think that's a good segue into the next question. So you've got, several decks you've loved to play and everything, but and you've told us your history with this card game. What is your history with Digimon specifically? And then what is your favorite Digimon, or who is your favorite Digimon?
So the favorite Digimon one's an interesting one because that one's changed. So my history, I watched Digimon first season when it came out. Digimon actually debuted on my 10th birthday. I know that because I look every time I see, Digimon debuted March 7th, 1999. That was my 10th birthday. That also dates me to let you know how old I am. But the debut of of the first episode was, I guess for English anyway, was on my 10th birthday. I remember watching that growing up Fox Saturday morning cartoons, and I loved it. It had, I mean, the first season, the Angemon reveal was Digimon's Super Saiyan Goku moment. Like it was like, oh my god, this is
Yes,
amazing moment.
finally. Yeah.
Yes,
You're waiting that whole season, and then what happens when Patamon does his thing, you're just like goosebumps, like, yes.
yeah, and then it also you're so hyped for it, and then you don't realize, and it hits you, especially coming back to it and doing like rewatches now. Coming back to it and like, oh, that was very short lived, and then they took him away from us for so long again. Like that sucks. But it definitely had a lot of build up for this great moment, and um, I love that they take uh a lot of the lore from the show and integrate it into the cards so well. Like the Angemon that now, oh, it dies, it takes a virus with it, specifically targeting Devimon, essentially,
Yeah.
to relive that show moment. And they keep printing cards with effects that mimic things from the series. That is, if you're a longtime fan or just know some of the lore, some of the story, like the original Omnimon and Diaboromon, how Omnimon, the first Omnimon, cancels out the whole Diaboromon token spam, essentially. And then we got Armageddon, who then cancels out Omnimon because in Return of Diaboromon, Armageddon essentially killed Omnimon. Armageddon just basically killed Omnimon, and Omnimon sent his power to um, Imperial Dramon Fighter mode to get Paladin mode in that movie. And that's why Paladin mode has the effect that bottom deck a white level 7, because Paladin mode was birthed off of gaining his power off like these really cool interactions in the card design that mimic things from the show and the lore, and it's just um and that was my, I guess, to go back to the question, coming full circle, because I'll segue off if you don't keep me on track here, but
Oh, you're fine.
Mikey's a pro at that.
Yep.
yeah, yeah, definitely from the very beginning. I wanted to say that my favorite was Matt. I wanted to say that I identified with Matt early on. So Gabumon naturally. Being in elementary, I had a thing for wolves, so Garurumon worked for it. I thought wolves were so cool growing up. Maybe that's just a 90s thing. But one of my best friends at the time, funny enough, me and him were both very into Digimon. He was more Pokemon than Digimon, but he was still very into Digimon as well. And he was my best friend at the time. And the funny thing was, he had a younger sister, and I had a younger brother. And our younger siblings were the same age. And so we all automatically, like, my mind was like, he is the tie to my Matt. And I have TK, he has his Kari. Like, that's how it clicked in my head. And I think that's what just clicked me to Matt. So I was really big into Guru growing up. But now, like, even doing rewatches and stuff, I'm kind of like, of the originals at least, I feel like I really started going towards Gomamon. Like, Gomamon's just so funny and so fun, and like has that, like, even though his partner's kind of a downer, Joe was very much a downer, especially early on. He never let it get him down. Like, he was always a really happy spirit, and I can identify with the mentality of wanting to be that way, not letting, even if your partner's weighing you down or the world's weighing you down, trying to stay positive all the time, make light of it, enjoy the moment type of thing. And that's what I kind of started gravitating more towards Gomamon now, I would say.
Heck yeah. I mean, why not? That's a perfect example. That was a very good reason to have him as your favorite Digimon. Now,
He's definitely got that lighthearted spirit. Just, he's there to make things better, not
Yes.
keep making it worse. You got to see the bright side always. There's going to be things that drag you down, but you just got to stay positive. It'll work itself out. It'll be okay.
making them jokes.
Gomamon's a support Digimon with protagonist energy.
Yeah, that's a good, yep, for sure. Good
Oh, yeah.
one-liners.
Yep. I've definitely that was my other. I do have like a Plesio X build that I probably am tempted to run. My thing is like I'm just always constantly wanting to run so many different things and rebuild so many different things. It is the biggest difficulty aside from getting time to make it to locals between family and work and everything is just deciding what to play for locals. I am currently sitting here as we talk, re-sleeving the Alter S Turbo build because I got some other nicer cards to put into it. I finally got my level 6s all max rarity or alt arted out, so now I need to just finish picking up the Alter S's, but everybody saw the, I guess, future support for it, and it's starting to get buyout crazy, and I'm like, damn, I missed the bus. They were like at $10 or something. Now they're like at 20 something. So they've doubled. And so I'm like, okay, I gotta wait for it to die down again before I get things. Right now, Eosmon is gonna take off. I built an Eosmon. I got to play it like once at locals for testing when the promo Morphomon came out. And I've been wanting to go and get more gameplay with that, gameplay footage to make more videos for the channel. And I just haven't had a chance to do it. And now that all the EOS support is leaked today, I think it was today, that's already the hype train is taking off there. But me and another local buddy, he loves Eosmon too, which always made it hard for me to get the alts early on for Eos because he scooped them before I could from all our local usuals. So, but me and him both are hyped for the butterfly. So it should be some fun stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up in the future, and I think that's what just keeps the energy for the game going. Like, yeah, there's great stuff to play right now. I think we're in a great form. Even though, yes, it could have been a toxic format with Apoclymon, EX5 kind of showed us that there's a lot of decks to play, and now that Purple's kind of, I won't say so much hindered. I will say that it is checked. I won't say it's still very viable. People are like, oh, they killed this, killed that. No, there's still ways to make it work. Anubis is dead. No, Anubis is going to be teched into every purple deck, so it doesn't matter that it doesn't have its own deck. Every purple deck is probably going to tech that one of Anubismon because it is so good. And when it comes up, it's going to do stuff. So, Apoclymon, yeah, Apoclymon's not going to be the big scary monster it is, but there's like the Apocly Omni-Zoo deck that people have been putting together that looks a lot of fun. I pulled one Apocly, that's all I need, and I'm like, well, maybe I can try that Omni-Zoo deck because it looks really janky and probably kind of bricky, but you know, that's Jank is built with brick hands, so
From what I've heard, that Omni-Zoo is almost as consistent or even more consistent than Apocalypse was. So,
okay.
at least from what I've heard, I can't attest to that because I haven't played it, but
And one of
Jordan was talking about it, and then one of the guys from Wholehearted's locals that's going to North Carolina with us, he's thinking about taking it with him to North Carolina. So,
oh, that's awesome. I hope he does. I hope he does well with it too, because it's just one of my local buddies said he already built it. He tried it. He's like, it's honestly a lot of fun. And this is a guy who he's very very competitive player, does really well. He was playing with it. He said it's a lot of fun. Once you get stuff on there, it is just very powerful because I mean you're just playing a bunch of Omnimons and they're very sticky. And I may get around to that. I have so many different things just laid out here that I want to try. I build things before I get to. I build more decks than I have time to play them all the time.
Same, brother. Same.
I think one
I
of the
don't even get to the point of building them. I just make them on Digimon IO and then hit the test hand like 10 times, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good hand. Yeah, that's not great. That's good. And then I don't ever look at it again.
Yeah, I will say if I am anywhere where I don't have anything to do and I have my phone in my hand, I will start building things on IO, and then I have them. I have a good amount of decks saved to my camera roll on my phone just because I'm like, oh, you know what? I like this. Maybe I'll build it later. Let me just export this to save to my phone. and then I forget about it and I haven't built it yet. But I like seeing that right now, and then it kind of goes back to we're in a pretty fun format because people are testing things out. People are knowing that hey, the best deck is no longer the best deck. We don't really know what our meta is for sure. Like everybody's saying, oh well, it's going to go to Melga. It's Melga's going to go back on top, but I don't think it's that simple. And a lot of people are finding other ways to play other things and have fun. OmniZoo was one thing. One thing that I thought about, and then I realized, hey, I am not the first one to think about because it's starting to pop up everywhere, was bringing back Raidenmon. People were bringing back Raidenmon with Alter B, and I was like, yes, that is what I wanted to do because Raidenmon stacks to level 6s. You go into Alter B, boom, you can just destroy. Raidenmon is going to be a lot of fun. And then I started seeing a bunch of people popping up with, hey, look at this Raidenmon profile, look at this Raidenmon, this and that. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm not the only one who sees it because all this Machine Dramon, Chaos Dramon support also supports Raidenmon. And Raidenmon having access to make use of Alter B's effects to trash security and destroy 3 things and all this stuff, like that could be really fun if it. And at some point, I'm gonna try and build and get some gameplay, and I think that's really what drives me to Jank, and is playing something that other people don't normally play, but also because I have the channel, being able to share gameplay of things that people don't normally play in hopes that they're, it inspires some people like, hey, you know what, this is cool, this is different, let me do that. Because you can get on and find more Greymon videos and Metal Gurumon videos galore. But some of the really fun janky stuff, I think, is the stuff that a lot of people, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people really gravitate towards because, hey, this is cool, this is fun, this is different. And I am kind of leaning more towards that. And I found that from the chat, doing the channel and really looking at things. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it also comes across in my personality because I enjoy the jank videos better. But looking at the videos that I've posted and like looking at I try not to focus on analytics or anything like that. But every once in a while, I'm like, well, let's see, do people even care about this? And typically, all the videos that aren't featuring competitive decks tend to have more views than the ones that do have competitive decks. I did a tournament run where I ran Mirage Galgumon. So I was like, you know what? Let me try a competitive here at locals. And they were some of my lowest viewed. And then I have like, oh, look at this fun game I did. Look at this Mamamon video, one of the highest viewed. When I played the Rust Tyrannomon one, that one was like all the Mirage game. One of the Tyrannomon videos had like the same amount of views as like all the Mirage Galgumon, or 2 or 3 of the Mirage Galgumon videos combined. And I'm like, clearly, jank just works better. I think people enjoy it more because there's not a lot of it.
I agree 100%. When I made the video Bill Starmon, I don't think it definitely wasn't top tier, but it was resurging. And the same way, I'd made a War Greymon toolbox. People watched it, but when the Bill Star, it just blew. Yeah, it blew all the because people were wanting that's their Digimon or that's their deck. They're searching and out there they're like, okay, I gotta find a deck that works that makes this deck relevant again.
Right.
And I think that brings a lot of attention when you make the jankier decks because that's what they're wanting.
It also brings in the people that aren't playing the game and they're like, oh, well, I really like this Digimon. I want to see what this is about. I want to do this.
Play your favorite Digimon. That's I completely agree with that. That's kind of why I've been wanting to do the Plesio X. But one Plesio X has a very, very strong effect. But it's the Gomamon line. It's a lot of fun of Gomamon, and it takes me back to my start in the game with the Source Strip and Aggression. Not so much. I mean, Stun too, but I think Source Strip started as an aggression build because, like the blue starter deck, the Kakaitis Blue had the Were-Garurumon that if they didn't have sources, you could unsuspend. Or no, sorry, you get Security Plus, and then the Metal Garurumon that came in that starter deck automatically had the unsuspend. So it was like you source strip so that you could be aggressive. And this the Plesio X kind of, or the Plesio itself, before getting to X, Plesio has the strip sources, and then you can unsuspend, and you tie that in with some of the blue strip aggression, like Chris Paledramon or that Werguru, um, bringing back that source strip aggression. Whereas typically a lot of people think of source strip as the control deck, and then there's a lot of ways to play that. Obviously, Sorai, you have the Zudo Ace, and then Plesio X itself in that deck, source strip and stun or bounce, and so there is a very control way to play it, but I like the aggressive way. And I like to think of myself as I'm a very aggro control player. I try to say I want to play the control decks, but I don't like playing them at a control pace. I like to push and keep the game going so the game's exciting, to keep the game flow going. So even though I'm trying to make control decks work, I tend to push and play them in an aggro style, which sometimes doesn't work out for me. Obviously, certain decks need to play played certain ways, and sometimes you play, I play a little carelessly, but I play to have fun more than anything. I am competitively casual or casually competitive. I don't know which is a better way to say that, but that is my outlook on the game.
Can definitely agree with that. I want to be more competitive, but family time and all that.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I feel. Like I want to have more time to be able to do things and stuff, but I got my toddler. I want to spend as much time with him growing because they grow so fast. He's growing so fast. Um, and he's a funny little dude. I love him here. He likes to have, yeah. It's tricky here in the office where I have everything because I have too much stuff, and so he wants to get into things. So I have a pile of bulk there that he can shuffle through and toss around, and I don't have to worry about it. Uh, use my little playtest partner here when I'm in my office, and I also found that thanks to him, I've discovered that um, Battle Spirit Saga cards are a little bit tougher than Digimon cards, just because it took him a little longer to eat those. They did not dissolve as easily in baby saliva as much as Digimon. Digimon tended to get eaten and destroyed much faster than those Battle Spirits cards. Although I know there's some out there that would be like, well, the Battle Spirits cards are aren't worth as much anyway. But it's okay. It was all my bulk stuff. He gets to keep all the bulk for. I mean, he's out of the chewing cards phase now. He just likes to flip them and throw them around. But uh, yeah, they've want to be more competitive, but I won't let a competitive deck even in competitive formats. Usually, at some point maybe I will. Maybe I'll be like, you know what? I want to win prizing, regional prizing, serialized Omni. Oh, that almost makes me want to break my jank streak. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no, it'll make it that much better when you actually win that serialized Omni with the Jank.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
That
definitely
that's the goal anyway.
the dream. That is the dream. I have a. This is gonna. This is definitely copium jank, but I have had Ravemon sitting here for so long, thinking I would really like to make Ravemon work. It's on paper it should, but it is so. I haven't really fully tested it again, and I know the Saber Dramon is going to fit in really nicely with it. But Saber Dramon is so tricky to come by because nobody locally was letting theirs go. So I only need two in the deck. I have one. I'm waiting for my second one to come in the mail. Um, Person I got it off of is being very slow shipping, so I'm like, I would have liked this card like a week ago when I should have gotten it. Um, just so that I can try to get some Ravemon gameplay. Just because, I mean, it's another janky deck that has some promise there. Probably the weakest of the Digimon Savers decks, I would say, but I like the hand destruction mechanic. I think that's very interesting, and getting that online early can really disrupt most players, um, save for purple. Obviously, purple wants to throw things in the trash. So if you tell them, "Hey, throw stuff in the trash," they'll be like, "Okay, thank you for that." But anything else, and then that really becomes a problem.
Yeah, I feel like right now with the purple meta that's going on, I don't know if Ravemon's a good play right now.
Yeah, and we'll see. That's how I felt up until thinking like, well, with the ban list, people are going to start backing away from purple a little bit. But it's still there's a lot of graveyard or trash utilization decks out there. I mean, Metal Guru can still use it because it still has some of the purple line protection stuff. Devas still feeds off of that because Fanglong bottom decks to DP minus, as I found out horribly on Ulti Cup. There's a lot of things that use it, so maybe still not the best, but it can be very interruptive certain times. May run it, try some gameplay soon with some other jank. I'm just deciding what jank to run gameplay of. Um, Pulsemon is sitting right here next to me. I wanted to revisit Pulsemon when the Ritsu promos came out for pre-release. I picked up a few of those from people who were like, "I'm never going to use this," and I'm like, "I will find a way to use this. It won't be good, but I'll find a way to make it work."
Yeah, that's the jank life. You see a
Yeah.
card that you want to play, and you just got to make it work. It's got to happen.
The more people, yeah, and I would say the more people say this is not good, the more I'm like, let me see about that.
Let me show you.
Yeah, let me show you. I'm like, see, it took me 20 games, but I got there. We got one in. It won once. That's all that matters.
So, is there a certain color that you lean more towards, and is there a color that you just don't want to mess with at all?
Um, so I want to say that I lean towards blue, but it's kind of blue, black, and purple. And purple just because it does have a lot of different play styles. Um, Purple, there's mill strat, there's play from the trash, there's retaliation, there's rush strats. Purple almost in general is a toolbox color in itself. There's a lot of different ways to play purple. Blue was my start, and so I always have a soft spot for blue and trying to make blue work. Even when blue is meta, I try to make the non-meta blue work, I guess is the way to look at it. Um, and then I feel for whatever reason, I always end up building black. I always end up building a black deck. It's just interesting. But like the worst version of black. Like I won't play Black Wargreymon X, but I'll play, Turbo Omni Alter S or Alter B, the Alter BS deck. I won't play Machine Dramon, but I will try to make Raidenmon work. I have Mamemon there, obviously, is my go-to. I've had Alphamon forever. I've never played it in a competitive standpoint. I played it one locals, and the final was me and my buddy Ivan also playing Alphamon, so it was a mirror in the finals match. And I was like, all right, that was my Alphamon run. That was my meta run. Now I'm going back to Jank. But Black seems to be the one that I end up going to the most, because I feel like there's a lot of undiscovered stuff there that can be fun, like the big black blockers deck, bringing back that back in some
Yeah.
capacity. There's a lot of fun stuff there. So
Oh yeah, listen, Black's gonna have its day because Digivolve is going to be important with all these aces. I'm just calling it
absolutely.
now. I'm putting it out
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I am so down for Black to have its resurgence to the top. Just because obviously when Alphamon was top tier, it was the Black meta, but and there was like I remember the old, was it BT5 when there was that toolbox Metal Garurumon, Black Metal Garurumon toolbox deck that people were kind of crazy on because it was like Digiburst 2 and Trash to Security or something. So
Yeah.
people were viewing it as like the counter to SetCon at the time, and had a lot of fun stuff. But I would say I guess black is the color I gravitate towards now more so. But I still love purple and blue decks. Purple I take a step back from. Basically, whichever one's not in the spotlight, I guess, is where I'm going to gravitate more towards. Yellow is kind of the color that I never touched, I would say. For whatever reason, I've never really been into yellow decks. My brother played them, so ironically enough, like when we both started, I started with the blue deck. He went into the yellow deck, which goes back into like the history of like I identified with Matt and he was my TK. That's the decks we ended up picking up to. But he played a lot of yellow. I never really played yellow. I have, like I said, I built a Pulsemon. I tested it one time, got completely destroyed, and I'm like, I need to retool this. I'll come back later, and it's been sitting there for like forever. But yellow would be, I guess, the one that I'd least amount with. Green is kind of someone is almost in that same boat, but I've considered green here and there. I want to try out Leopard X. Maybe that would be one that if I was able to play in this Double Typhoon tournament, the all green deck probably would have gone with either a Leopard X build or maybe try to bring back Tyranno. Tyranno would be my second choice. But yeah, I would say black would probably be the top, yellow at the bottom. Black and yellow. I'm a Steelers fan too, so that works out.
Oh, nice. So we've talked quite a bit.
Yes.
Well, especially the decks you like, and we talked about Amphimon, the deck you've played recently. So, give us a rundown of what decks you're currently playing. I know, like us, you don't have a ton of time, but what decks are you currently actively playing right now?
So currently actively, I mean, it was going into the Ultimate Cup. I would say this was the most playtesting I've done for a tournament. I was really grinding the Amphimon stuff against things. So Amphimon was the main one that I've been playing a lot of. I would like to get some more time with this Alter S deck just because I think it's fun. But I think the next ones lined up for me, just because of what I have laid out here, are probably the Plesio X is what I'm going to try next, just because it's not too far removed from the Amphimon playstyle and strip and do things. So source strip, do things, all that stuff. So that's probably the next one down my pipeline mentally here. I do want to build also a Myotismon build. And I'm picking up my Myotismon aces now so that I can play a weak Venom Myotismon now, waiting for the next set support to go into Mallow. So Venom first, then Mallow. So I would say Plesio X is probably my next big thing, then Mallow at some point, just to test it out to see how the mechanics work for it. And the Myotismon stuff feels a little incomplete right now, just because obviously the best support is for Mallow, but this new support is for a Venom Myotismon, so it doesn't really mesh too well together. But there is some fun Venom Myotismon stuff, and I was kind of already contemplating bringing back Venom Myotismon from EX1 as my since a new one. I originally all my Mervamons were not in a Merva deck. My Mervamons were actually used with my EX1 Venom Myotismons and a Retaliation Rush style deck, because Venom Myotismon from EX1 had the effect when you attack, you get to play a level 4 lower Digimon with Retaliation from the trash. And if you had the EX1 Wizardmon in that stack, it gained Rush. It gave all retaliation Rush. And so it was this thing about build this Venom Iotismon stack and then just swing with your retaliation Digimon. If they blocked it, great. You took something down with you. Then swing Venom to bring it back. And then with Wizard and stack, it would also get to swing again and just keep reloading the cannon. And then Mervamon obviously gave all those retaliation blocker as well. So Venom Iotismon in some capacity with the new Myotismon support is probably where I'm leaning towards after this Plesio X run. But like I said, I'm a little all over the place. I like to try a lot of different colors. Gammamon is sitting there, and I haven't updated it, even though I have the cards to update it. Once I get my other Saberdramon in, I'm gonna push Bravemon back out there. And what I like about playing here at locals, here we play at Kaboom Games in McAllen is the main place I play at. We're pretty good. Everybody's pretty good about friendliness. I think our local community is really great. We've had some new players recently, and everybody's been really friendly and supportive. And I always try if I bring my camera to locals, which I try to every time, and I'm set up to play, I try to 15 minutes. Even I'm like, hey, you want to try another quick game real quick, even if it's just a one of one, just to try another deck for the night, get some gameplay for the night of some other deck. And so that's why sometimes you'll see on the Valley Boys TCG channel, like I have some one of games where it's just one match. And it's because I try to squeeze it in between the rounds, just because I wanted more just more gameplay for the channel, but two, so that I can play more decks because I don't get to go out to locals as often as I'd like. And I have too many decks to play, so I try to get as much gameplay out of it as I can. But I would suspect that my next one going would probably be Plesio X, and then Myotis if I can swing it, maybe Raiden if I can swing it. I have too much want, not enough time.
Feel it. I feel it in my soul.
Yep.
Yeah. Tis the life of a TCG player with family.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. What about y'all? What are you guys looking at? I feel like I've talked about myself too much. I like to. Yeah, I'm and I obviously I'm a big fan of the podcast because I've listened to every episode, and it's kind of weird to me here right now talking to you guys because I hear your voices and I'm so in tune that just to listen to you guys. So it's a kind of like out of out of the norm experience because I'm in with the podcast as opposed to listening as much as I usually do.
Feels good, doesn't it? Feels good.
Yeah, yeah, it feels good. Feels good. Clearly, I tend to start rambling on a lot once I start talking about things that I enjoy, and Digimon and specifically Jank gets me talking quite rapidly here. So if I overtalk, you can let me know. But which is why I'm reversing the
This
question.
is an interview of you. We're interviewing you. We want you to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But just to counter the question, what are you guys? I'm curious about that. What's the next janky builds on y'all's tables?
Right now, my big thing is getting Tyrannomon ready for North Carolina.
Right.
Like I usually don't get a whole lot of time to play, so I'll build random decks. But right now I've kind of finally hyper fixated myself to get prepped for this. So I gotta stay focused on it.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Well, if we've got some time to play test, I'm totally down to play test and tinker.
Yeah, I'll shoot you my list
Yeah,
here in a little bit and let you look it over and see what you think.
yeah, I'm totally down for that. What else we got? What else y'all got down the pipeline?
I want Gamamon to work. I'm working on tweaking Gamamon with the newer LM stuff, and every time I start to do it though, it's like the new hybrid stuff came out, so I'm excited for Ancient Guru again.
Yeah.
I tried to make that work, and I got old good Gabu Bond Ancient Guard build. That I got Raffle Stomp both times at locals, but I'm working for my Jank. It's Gamamon. For my main deck, it's Mastamon right now.
Very nice. Gamamon is so interesting. It's one that I keep, like I said, I have all the pieces here. The LM stuff is cool, but it's one that I feel kind of lost to build because there's too many pieces. There's so many options for that one now, and it's like, well, which is the best way to go? Because this is good, but this also works really well, and this, and then it's not even just the level 4s anymore, but he's got like a bunch of level 5s that go with it too. That it's like, well, I should be playing the Cano Weiss and the regulars, but at the same time, like, hey, this bomber is cool. This like these other ones, they're like, these are really cool niche techs that would work out in certain situations, and it's like, there's no
Tell
space.
me about it. It's literally the whole deck. The whole anime is him being the toolbox, him being able to adapt to every situation. And we talked about that on the last podcast, is there's these really, where do you fit it in? Because then that's when Gamamon is too spread out. Like with Proximamon, we kind of got it kind of funneled in. And I've noticed a lot of people that I've seen play it, I think, don't rely enough on ADP. I think they don't rely enough on Brayclaw. Brayclaw is a card that a lot of people have opted out from, and that's how you.
No, listen, that card is top tier.
Yes,
I used that
how
in
you get your tech.
Tyrannomon when I was building the Gamamon base. You can't beat that card.
Yeah, Brayclaw is so good. I love that card. I will say, with the Gamamon, oddly enough, there's so many different pieces and so many ways to go about it that, oddly enough, like you said, people are steering away from Brayclaw, and I think Brayclaw is too good to steer away from. I think the oddest part about it is it feels like, as good as Proximamon is, it's like it takes too much weird setup to get there that it doesn't. It almost feels like you're better off just sticking with Seriousmon and getting there with the with your level 6s, and then Proximon's like a win more tech, but not a focal
point. Doorbrickmon.
Yes. That's one that I want to go back.
That was when before we had Proximon and I tried to get Gamamon to work forever, I ran the Dorbic at my top end, and I'm like, it works really well, because even if your hand, you're like, oh, I can't make this work. Oh, there's a Dorbic. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, Dorbic is one that I've wanted. I see a few videos of Dorbic OTK stuff, and I'm like, God, that looks so fun. I want to build it, and then I never do. And then now, like with Savior Huckmon off the list and being able to go into a Dorbic OTK deck, and then finding ways to utilize its effect with just dropping some of the Sister Mont Blancs with it, like that OTK can really get going, because you can use like the Blanc that draws one and becomes a blocker, or the Blanc that you play it and you trash one, draw two, because really Dorbic is just about drawing your cards and getting enough to slam Dorbic. You have Dorbic with Savior Huck, and then you get that unsuspend because you have Sister Mons on board. And so the Dorbic is one that I've been wanting to visit, and I never have. And the other support line, Dorbic is just one of those that should be super fun. And it's just a good jank tier deck that every once in a while you see it pop up on a list and it tops somewhere, and you're like, well, yeah, when you see that deck pop off, it's there's no way around it. It's one of those like, hey, cool, Dorbic made it, and then you think about like, well, yeah, I mean, Dorbic should be able to. Dorbit can pop off and surprise a lot of people, similar to Ancient Greymon. Ancient Greymon's one that I'm like, I feel like if people were to play it now, especially with like the um, offensive training cards, because I mean, you just need to find your pieces and then Ancient Grey OTK. I feel like that
Maybe.
deck can be very scary now with the training cards, but you don't see people playing it anymore. So that's viability, but it's one of those that I'm like that could be a scary deck right now.
That
Um,
that's
but
the
yeah,
issue with our current just how TCGs work. If it's not the new hotness, we forget about it, or if nobody's topping with it, we don't want to play it because I took Ancient Greymon to 3 Ultimate Cups, and when it popped off, people, but this was during the old Ultimate Cup rules, and it
right,
wasn't as much of a sleeper deck. The deck
right,
is,
right. It fit the fit the format at the time.
yeah, but it was insane, and I still feel that way. And which there was the alternate art Ancient Greymon buyout, so
Yeah,
which luckily I already have mine, but
yeah. I definitely Ancient Grey was one of those that one of my buddies at locals who he doesn't play as much anymore, but every time I ran a spam deck, he always ended up I always ended up paired against him, and he always had Ancient Grey with the freaking blazing card that just torched my field. Um, and I'm like, oh, that's there goes my spam. Like I love it. And spam decks are another thing that I really enjoy. Like obviously Mamimon was a spam deck. I love the Fishes deck, Aegistramon. Oh, that's the other one that I have lined up here that I'm probably gonna try out to see. I'm basically which Plesio do I play? Do I play the Plesio that spams out bodies, or do I play the Plesio that's the control Plesio X into Plesio X? So I have two Plesio decks here ready to go because I picked up those promo Seedramons already to try them out in the fish deck, and so um and I was talking Lord player loves playing Bloomlord, and he was telling me like, why don't you play Bloomlord? And I'm like, I really don't play enough green decks. And he's like, I was like, honestly, I should. Like, I love spam decks, and Bloomlord is a very big spam deck, and it plays. I mean, it's exactly a style that I enjoy, aggressive and spam. But it is a very viable deck, and I don't really play viable decks that well, so that's my excuse for not playing Bloomlord. Is that it's a good deck, and me and good decks don't get along.
makes sense. I
Yeah,
mean, you gotta stay true to who you are.
yep, yeah. I have Eosmon here ready. That's my green Bloomlord is Eosmon.
Yeah, but now it's got support coming, so you're gonna have to put it up.
I know that's I got to play it now before it gets good. Exactly what it is. I probably literally have like I had like at some point like 30 something, nearly 40 decks like fully built, ready to play at some point. And since then, I've taken a few apart, but there's still probably 20 something decks that I could just pull out and be able to play already. I've run out of deck boxes that I have to keep making deck boxes. I'll buy some cheap ones like the Ultra Pros. I have a bunch of those Ultra Pros just to stock up for my cheap decks. I stopped buying nice sleeves. I started buying sleeves in bulk because I uh, I build too many fun decks, and so I'm like I can't sleeve all of these in Dragon Shields unfortunately because it would get too pricey. So I found like some on Amazon that's like Hero or something weird like that, but it was like 500, like the price of one Dragon Shield pack, but 5 times as many sleeves, and they've worked pretty well for me. And that's because I use them for almost all my Battle Spirits decks, and then like a few of my janky or a few of my testing decks in Digimon. And if my Digimon decks, um, if I like the deck well enough that I think I'm going to use it more, then I will put it into some nicer sleeves or reuse some nicer sleeves. But then I have these are essentially my testing training sleeves.
They gotta
Kind of how
pass
I
the
approach it.
test. They gotta pass
Yeah,
the test before they get that special treatment.
right, right. And the test, my test is not is the deck good? It's is the deck fun? That's how I approach it. Like, yeah, I mean, sure, the deck can be it pops off and it does its thing and it's good, and then it's like, yeah, but am I enjoying it? Like, am I gonna enjoy playing this again? That's where and that's where the jank takes over. It's like this is more fun than it is good, so I'm gonna revisit it. And whereas like it's like, oh, this is a good deck, but it's kind of just brain dead, and you just play the line and that's it, you win. Then I'll have it there as a backup in case like I really feel like I want to try for a tournament, or we're playing a win a box or something. Okay, maybe I'll put a little more effort and look at these decks instead. But when it comes to jank, I that is my go-to. That is my bread and butter. That is my preference. And as long as the deck is fun, playable.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a trading card game, and so games should be fun. So, I mean, not all games, I guess. Some of us torture ourselves with some of the games we play or put ourselves through, but I am
Fact.
one for fun games over stressful games. That's why I don't play Dark Souls. I don't play horror games. I don't need a. That's not my thing. I'm there to have fun. I'm not there to aggravate and scare myself.
Yeah, listen, I could probably play one of those horror games and be one of those live streamers that pop off because everybody's laughing at them jump scaring. That'd be me.
Yeah, that would be me too. I'm not a horror person at all, honestly. I'm a I like to enjoy, have fun. That's what it all comes down to, right? That's what we want at the end of the day, is just to have some fun.
All right. So, what do you feel about the direction of the game going forward? Like, what do you think about Bandai's approach to how they've been doing things and how it's projecting, especially with the unification next year?
So that is very interesting, and the unification honestly excites me because being one that plays jank, it's all about exploring the unexplored, playing decks that people don't play, doing things that aren't researched, and going into a unified system where our meta is not figured out, everybody's figuring it out together, just as a deck builder and a let's figure things out type of creationist, I guess. That gets me excited because I'm like, you all will now see the game the way I see the game. No more net decking. What won over there? What's the winning deck? What's the best deck? Okay, that's what we're building now. We're all going to figure this out at the same time. And then on top of that, we know that the English meta, or specifically the U.S. meta and the Japanese meta, are very different. The U.S. obviously loves security control at some point, and Japan was not so big. And we also play a very different style where they're best of one, we're best of three. So even when we're, globally figuring out a meta, it's going to be regional meta or different metas because of the different way you play the game. So even if we're like, oh, this is topping in Japan, even now, like the US meta, I mean, the English meta has always been slightly different from the Japanese meta. Like, yes, it's very heavily influenced, but there's always some outliers and things that pop off here that did not do so well over there, and some variances. And while we're figuring out the meta, that's where it's really going to shine the big differences, I think, is that everybody's figuring out their decks, everybody's figuring out what works in the card set, and theory crafting counters and things like that. And okay, this worked over here, but it doesn't work over here. This works here, not over there. And I think it's going to be a great time for creativity because it forces everybody to be creative. There's no longer just, like I said, there's no more net decking, especially early in the meta when everything starts getting unified. early on it's going to be just so different, and then by the time that everybody figures out, okay, this is what it is, we're probably going to be in the next set already. So nobody has time to just get in a stale format, which I feel like is where we kind of are in English side. Like, yes, we have a lot of, we do get some innovation and we do have slight variances, but for the most part, there's so many people that play on the English side that look up what the Japanese side is playing, and then they're like, "Oh, this deck is doing really good. Let me test it." And then they're testing it before it comes out. They've already seen the results of it, and then the set drops here, and they've already played it all out, and they're kind of like just on autopilot. So it's like not even enjoying the deck anymore because they already know what to expect. They already know what it plays into, and so there's no learning as we go. It's just, or there's no figuring it out as we grow as a player base. And so just I'm excited for it from a point of just creativity. And I think that's a very interesting take for Bandai. I believe they're going to do combined sets is what they're planning on doing. I think like 18 and 19 are going to be combined, or 17 and 18, and then 19 and 20 or something like that. They're doing like kind of how they did 1.0 and 1.5. They're combining some sets on the US side. So I don't know how that's going to be towards the end of the year when we start getting those combined sets, and how that's going to affect us. It's going to get rocky. I definitely think it's going to get kind of turboed and rocky and probably very expensive, because combining sets just means that the pull rates are going to go way down and we're going to have to buy a lot more stuff. But once it's all said and done and we're balanced out, that is when it's going to get exciting to see the creativity of the players. So I'm excited for it. I know that Bandai had recently like changed who was in charge of card design or something like that, and within these last few sets, I think it was BT11 or something like that, when they got a new creative director. So that's when we got a noticeable shift, because my understanding was the last time we had usually you can notice when the director changes or the person in charge of the design changes, because there's a big difference. Because I think before BT11 or 12 or wherever the big shift was before that, the change was in BT9, and everybody knows BT9 was a very big meta change where it's like, okay, now we have like the big three and that's it. So the big power creep points are kind of where your hints that something changed. But I think now they're figuring things out. Obviously, Apocally was kind of Apocally was a bit of a mistake because it was way too strong and not realizing how good it was, and the Guru engine was just way too strong that those two decks really limited the meta. And I think them hitting that, and also like the emergency ban list was also a very interesting one when they hit the Galaxy loop, was something very new, and having the limited list where it's like you can't have these cards together in deck really shows that Bandai is starting to get creative with how they adjust the power of the game. And I think that's important. It's not just they can now do things that aren't just simple ban this or limit that. There's that restricted list where it's like you can't play these together. I think is it's a very interesting thing that could have some interesting repercussions for future dynamics, depending on how decks start performing or overperforming. So I think they're addressing power issues quicker. I think they're doing a good job about realizing when mistakes are made, and I'm all for it. And of course, the set unifications I'm excited for, just from a creativity standpoint, because everybody is lost together, and that's exciting.
That's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really gonna show who the actual deck builders are.
Yes. Who can cook and who's just plating.
I think that's when the Jank life's really gonna take off, because
Oh yeah, Jank Life is gonna take off right there, because they're people are gonna be so busy trying to figure out what their own deck does that they are not gonna have any idea what yours does, and you're gonna come in there. Jank players have played a little bit of everything and anything that doesn't make sense, so we're already we're ready for this format where cards are unknown because we sometimes don't even know what our own deck does.
All right, Mikey, you got any more questions?
I don't think I do. Think
All right.
think that's it for my
Well,
questions.
as they would say on Hot Ones, let's roll out the red carpet. CK, tell us where the people can find you.
Yes, you can find me on YouTube. We are Valley Boys TCG on YouTube, so just check us out there. Right now, the content is kind of um, low because I have not had a chance to make it out to Digimon recently. Uh, just because the way the schedule works at my locals, I've been playing a little more Battle Spirits lately, so there's a few more Battle Spirits, but that one we're just getting a new set release this next week. So I'm waiting to get cards before I record any gameplay for that also. So kind of in this weird point where I don't have much gameplay going on right now, but I'm hoping to get some soon now that I'm done with Ulti Cup. I'm waiting for the next set of Battle Spirits, so I should be hopefully getting some more Digimon gameplay footage soon, and it should be jankalicious as I'm planning to return to my janky roots and go from there. At least one of the decks will be janky. I mean, my the card shop that I play at does play a little more competitively. A lot of players play a little more competitively decks, so it's amongst the local card shops, the one I usually go to is probably the most competitive. So I really the jank would thrive better if I went to maybe some of the other ones that play a little more casual. But I enjoy the challenge. So, but yes,
Hey, that's where you get your best testing.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And there's some great guys that do well. One of our guys, a few of our guys, make it to nationals just about every year. So good stuff there. But yeah, Valley Boys TCG on YouTube. That's where you can find some of our stuff. And yeah,
All right. Well, thanks for being on.
yeah. I thank you guys for having me on, man. I was excited for this. I'm glad I got to hang out with you guys and chill. And I'm definitely gonna get some back and forth with you on that Toronto list. I'm very excited and very supportive of you running that. I'm excited to see what you do with it and what you're cooking up.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Oh, Mike, you got anything to add? Tiny's not here to roll out our exit.
Well, I was going to say if you need sleeves for all your jank decks you're building, don't break the bank to bling out your jank because you can go to Prismatic Defender and use SecCheck 15 at discount to get you some amazing sleeves. I think there's still Pulsar, which is their Valentine's exclusive sleeves, so you can get you some of those, some hot pink sleeves with some holographic hearts. And there's some more designs coming soon down the pipeline. So
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that line. And I was already thinking about it when you said the sleeve thing. I was like, I definitely have not gone to pick up those. I've been wanting to get those shinies to clean out my jank without breaking the bank because I have been breaking the bank too much on my card games. So
oh yeah.
definitely
Hey,
definitely
the
gonna check.
the shattered glass inners
Mm-hmm.
sold out like almost instantly. Like the shattered glass pattern is what I have my um, Gabubon deck with,
Okay.
and they're gorgeous. I can't wait till they get more back in. It's
Yeah,
one of my
that's what
favorite patterns.
I want to check out those inner sleeves. That I don't. I usually don't double sleeve, but just the idea of those shiny inners just really bringing out some extra pop to it.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, check 15, of course.
Yeah, baby.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's it, and I guess I'll have to do the sign off since Tinathan's not here. Uh, this has been another episode of the Security Check Digimon TCG podcast. Thank you all for listening, and thank CK so much for being here. Go give Valley Boys a follow on all our social media and we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.